Thanks for staying with us. The United States is reshaping its approach to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso amid growing Russian influence in the Sahel region. Mali's Foreign Minister Abdoulaye Diop met senior U.S. official Nick Checker on Monday, saying both sides want to chart a new course in relations. Nick Checker reaffirmed Washington's respect for Mali's sovereignty and signaled plans to engage with other regional governments, including Burkina Faso and Niger, on security and economic issues. The shift follows a series of military coups between 2020 and 2023 that toppled elected governments in all three countries, prompting the Biden administration to scale back U.S. military cooperation. Under President Donald Trump, U.S. policy has changed. His advisor, Massad Bolo, says that democracy is no longer a requirement for engagement. Critics argue the move sidelines human rights, pointing to the continued detention of Niger's ousted President Mohamed Bazoum. Joining us live for more on the battle of influence in Africa is an African affairs analyst, Amuda Mosigudi. He joins us virtually. Good to join us. Good to have you join us, Amuda.
Thank you so much for having me.
So President Trump is breaking away with U.S. tradition of restricting cooperation with coup plotters. What do you make of this radical change in policy?
First, I think I need to correct the impression. It's not breaking away from the tradition. It's not the first time that the U.S. will be having interaction with those who call friendly dictators. So this is not new. What essentially we are seeing play out is an attempt at redefining U.S. diplomacy, particularly in view of the Cold War between the U.S. and Russia. And now it's not about democracy. And some of us have often said this, that the interest of the U.S. has never been about democracy. You can mention cases, okay? Mention Cuba, mention Iran in 1954, mention Guatemala, and many other countries where you've seen U.S. had to, be in tandem, even Pinochet in Chile, be in tandem with these coup plotters or dictators just because they serve their interests. We saw also, the one that we can relate to more in Africa, Patrice Lumumba, and how he was removed, and a lot of all these first-generation African diplomats, African leaders who were removed by coup. So it's not because it's not about redefining. No, it's not about the Trump presidency moving away from the tradition. It's essentially just reshaping it to see how they can still be in contention in the war or in the Cold War with Russia. That for me is the major thing. Now, that said, the US has also come to understand that with the current trend among the AES states, as they refer to themselves, the US cannot stand aloof, knowing full well that the world has become a global hamlet, kind of, particularly in Africa, and whatever happens in this country redefines what happens in other US-friendly countries like Nigeria and all that. For instance, we know that the crisis in Mali, with the Tuaregs, has been a major reason why there's been a very easy shipment of arms and, of course, bandits or criminals from that side down here. So the US needs to redefine its relations if it's going to curtail that level of insecurity. However, I should also say this. The buzzword, I must say, has been insecurity, but we know for sure that insecurity is nothing but a phantom. It is only a smoke screen. The underneath, the undercurrent in all of this is the Cold War. And for some,
absolutely, and I want to go there, Amuda. We will get there in just a moment. But you were talking about democracy earlier, not being the motive for US when it deals with countries. And I just wanted to quote something that President Trump's advisor, Massad Bolo, said. He said, democracy is appreciated, but it is no longer a criterion for ties. And I'm wondering what the implication of a departure, maybe not a departure, you have said, from American concern for democracy and human rights. I mean, some leaders have exemplified that.
Well, the truth is, the whole idea of democracy itself is subjective. Like some of us have said that the kind of very funny definition given by Abraham Lincoln, which has become the norm globally, is democracy or a democracy is government of the people, by the people, for the people. The fundamental question is, which people? The government of the people, is it by the poor for the rich or for the poor, or by the rich for the rich by the poor. These are issues around the whole contextualization of democracy. And the more reason people have now given, said that there are different shapes. You can talk about consensual democracy. We know about majoritarian democracy. We talk about discursive democracy. So it is a function of which one are the people deemed it fit. Then more so, why do you need to emphasize, if we respect the interests of the people, if the people themselves are celebrating the removal of their leaders, why then do you think that you can know better than they do in terms of their need or desire for democracy? So these are the issues, and I feel that the US has also come to understand it. But again, I also understand that it is not that the US really understands it. It is just that the US is pandering to its own interest, which is national interest. So democracy has always been a smokescreen by the US. I mentioned earlier several instances where the US, has been friends with, criminal elements. Even when Mobutu Sese Seko came on board early, the US was friends with Mobutu Sese Seko. And we can give examples like that in Zimbabwe as well, and many other cases where the US was friends with these persons until their paths, are no longer crossed. So it's not about democracy. Democracy is just a smokescreen they use. The most important thing, the undercurrent of it all is national interest. So nothing has really changed, okay? Although it seems like things are changing.
I'm going to have like a minute left, and I wanted to ask you, because Russia already has a very strong presence in the Sahel with several security cooperation. How will the influence in the Sahel shift now among global powers now that the US is interested?
It's going to be a tug of war. It's going to be a tug of war. Unfortunately, Africa will bleed for it, because we know what happened, in the Latin Americas in, the 60s and 70s, when it was like the center of this Cold War. And now Africa is becoming the center. And not forget, we may just be looking at Russia and the US now. We tend to be overlooking the place of China, okay? And, even the European Union, okay? Because the war is going to get expanded. And there are advantages and there are disadvantages. One of the advantages would be that African countries will be able to get overtures from, a lot of these foreign countries, a lot of these countries, both from the East and the West. But the end result of it is that Africans will be pawns in their game. And if Africans are pawns in their game, it often does not bode well.
All right. Well, we're looking at how that plays out. Interesting, you also mentioned the EU as well. Thank you so much for your time, as always, African Affairs Analyst Amuda Mbosibudi. All right, that's TVC News. That's What Now on TVC News. For more updates on the stories we're monitoring, you can visit our website. It's www.tvcnews.tv. Thanks for watching. I am Precious Amayu.